I think that when Mario enters the castle in Mario 64, that's more of a case of Mario entering into wealth itself than Mario entering into a specific wealth, like the wealth of Princess Peach, or this specific royal family, this specific aristocratic family. Because the castle obviously emulates the kind of style of aristocracy, right? But it gives me this feeling that the castle is also a spiritual place in this game, because it's empty and it's a place filled with like magic. You're traveling to distant lands through the paintings, and it's filled with this sort of magic which makes me feel that it sort of just represents a magical, wonderful kind of place. A place of wonder and like possibilities. And I find it funny then that what is being used is like the aesthetic of palaces, castles, like what would belong to aristocracy and royalty. Specifically, it's of like a European kind of style, because then that's the what should we call it? It's on the one hand like the fetishization of that. It's like this is the representation of wonder and of heaven on earth, right? Heaven on earth is this sort of aristocratic wealth, but also because in a sense, the possibility of building things, you know, complex architecture filled with rooms that lead to other places and where you can do other things, and all of these things that involve in some way working to create things, to create structures like these, is so like as I said in another video, Mario is a plumber. So Mario is a worker. He sort of represents in some way a worker. He's not Princess Peach. He's not a king. He's not royalty. He's not aristocracy. And placed alongside Princess Peach, right? The duality between them is very clear, right? And it's very fairy tale like, right? I think it's a fairy tale like structure. The sort of poor, like village boy who falls in love with the princess, who is from a rich, like, city environment or something. I'm sure there are many fairy tales of this sort, or others where like gender roles are reversed, or there's other sort of combinations. But the issue of, right, a love story between someone who is very rich and someone who is very poor is somehow like an archetypal fairy tale story. And again, I like, it's not that, like, who knows exactly how rich or poor Mario is. The point is the game is not showing that. All that the game is showing is that Mario is like uniformed as a plumber, who would be, you know, a worker, and, you know, someone who's working with their hands, doing physical labor that the aristocracy would be avoiding doing, right? The whole idea would be that aristocratic palaces and mansions would be places where there is enough wealth that you yourself don't need to do that sort of work, or work that you don't like. Right? And there's a whole, like, thing of why that work is considered to be bad or unfit for people within an aristocratic framework, right? There's a whole sort of symbolism of why that kind of work is not good, that we're also sort of encountering in some way in this game, just in the very decision to place these two characters together and to have this meeting of worlds. I think that there are these sorts of themes are being explored, in that Mario is the character who works with his hands. He's a platformer. He literally, jumps, runs, uses his hands to grab onto ledges, to grab onto platforms, to use objects, to enter into doors, into pipes. Like, he's literally like using his hands, his whole body to work with the world. His whole game is him working constantly with the world, with the physical sort of structures around him. And then it all sort of revolves around Princess Peach as this character who's, drifting away in the clouds, sort of far away, distance from where all of this is happening, and who is being rescued by this process of work. Like, this process that Mario is going through is a process that is spiraling towards the center of the palace, right, where you would find Princess Peach. So themes of this sort, I think, are happening, and then that's why I just get this sense that if you're going to place a plumber inside a castle, symbolically, like, it feels as if the castle here is representing something, or is more than just a castle. Or at least that would be my sense. That the castle, yeah, exactly, is wealth itself, or the potential that comes from work, and from work that is the result of all sorts of people, right? No one single individual builds a palace like that and designs it and decorates it and things like that, right? So it's obviously it's the result of the work of an entire society. And so it could be, like, the palace represents sort of what the entire society could be in some way. Right? It doesn't mean that the entire society would live in a palace, but that the palace is like where all of that work has been accumulated, but it could be spread out. Like, the world could be that way. I think there are several ways in which this is shown in this game. And I don't mean by this that it is shown like consciously or intentionally, or unconsciously or intentionally. I don't really know in what way this is shown. I just think that looking at this game, these are things that are awoken in my mind, that this game seems to suggest to me. And one of them is that the palace being empty feels like Mario can just walk around it safely. He is in his element, right? As far as I can remember, there barely are any enemies in the castle, right? There might be a few boos here and there, but it's not like a place that's filled with threatening energy. It's a sort of safe environment that Mario can just walk through at leisure. And so it feels more like a world than a castle, right? It's more of a world than a castle, right? It's bigger than a castle would ever be. If you look at it from the inside, it's huge. it's bizarrely huge, right? And I think people have tried to make sort of, mapping out what the castle would actually look like from the inside, in opposition to how it looks like from the outside. From the outside, it looks like a fairly tiny castle. But from the inside, it has all sorts of rooms that lead to other rooms that lead to other rooms. And then if you count the paintings on the walls as entrances to other rooms, then all of the worlds that you can enter through the paintings, after all, the paintings are paintings in the castle. You could read it that way. So you could read the paintings as paintings that lead to worlds that are inside the castle. You're not going somewhere outside. All of the worlds in Mario 64, you could say, are happening inside the castle. And in that case, then, even more than ever, it's not just an architecturally complex castle, like almost like bizarrely impossible, that breaks, it's bigger inside than it is outside, sort of thing. So it breaks this idea of the limitation of space as you see it from the outside. But it's also much, much, much bigger than that, because you go to a sand place, a lava place, an ice place. It suggests, like a lot of Mario games do, that there is an area that is dedicated to every possible sort of environmental condition. There's a snowy area, cold, hot, up in the mountain, down in the cave, in the water, dry, right? All possible sort of environmental conditions of planet Earth. In a sense, that's what it's saying. It's saying all possible environmental conditions of planet Earth are included inside this castle, and it's bigger than you could ever imagine if you were to look at it from the outside. So it's not just a castle, right? It's so big that it seems to represent a world, or the planet. But it's empty. It's emptied of some sort of spirit. Anyway, so these are the themes that we're working with. And this is why I get the sense that when you enter into this castle, you're entering into like the potential of what the world could be if it were rescued in some way, right? Which is what symbolically Mario is doing. And the kind of wealth that could be in this world, right? So it's not just in an aristocratic setting. I think it means it's the sort of the wealth that could pertain to the whole world. The whole world could be this sort of a huge, sprawling mansion and palace. Right? That the whole world could be like a mansion with many rooms, which is also like, in a biblical sense, could be a metaphor for the kingdom of God, right? A mansion with many rooms. A mansion that is bigger than what a mansion usually would be in a human sense, right? So it's a kingdom of heaven, but it's connected to wealth, the accumulated wealth that comes from a society working together, right?